to kindly start the session. Yes, Dr. Veronica.
Hi, thank you very much, Randhir. A very good evening to all. I'm Veronica Khangchian on behalf of Gandhian School of Democracy and Socialism, GSDS, ITM University. Welcome everyone present today for the first dialogue of GSDS Weekly Forum. GSDS Forum is an outreach initiative to promote understanding and conversations among the concerned persons, including students and youth, about the Gandhian way as well as dynamics of democracy and socialism. It is a happy occasion for us today, particularly for the GSDS team, as we are organizing this first event with eminent personalities who have warmly accepted our invitation to be part of our weekly conversation. We extend a warm welcome to our Honorable Founder Chancellor, Sri Ramashankar, Honorable Chancellor, Srimati Ruchi Singh, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor S.S. Bhakar, Honorable Pro-Chancellor, Dr. Daulat Singh Chauhan, and all the staffs of the ITM University. It is my pleasure to welcome our chief guest for today's event, Dr. Christian Bartolf, eminent Gandhian thinker and president, Gandhian Information Center, Germany. Thank you, sir. It is a privilege to have you with us today. We are happy to have a keynote speaker, Professor Mahesh Vikram, former professor of history, Mahatma Gandhi, Kashi, Vidyapith, Varanasi, India. We welcome you, sir, and thank you for being a core part of us today. It is my pleasure also to welcome the discussant of today's forum, our mentor, Professor Anand Kumar, eminent social scientist and former professor of sociology at Jawaharlal Nehru University, Delhi. We also warmly welcome our other distinguished guests who are here with us, Professor Hans Bakker, University of Guelph, Canada, Dr. Aditya Raj, Associate Professor, Indian Institute of Technology, Patna, Bihar, Professor Ananta Giri, Madras Institute of Development Studies, Chainni, Professor Guian Eminent Professor from Italy, Dr. Alok Bajpai, GSDS, ITM University, and all our other guests. It is a pleasure to have you all with us. To moderate today's session, we have Randhir Kumar Gautam, co-convener of GSDS Forum and assistant professor, ITM University. I welcome you, and I now hand over the time to you, Randhir Kumar Gautam. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Veronica, and thank you so much all our respected friend, participant. I can see many friends here, Dr. R.D. Sahaji, Isan Sahab, I can see Dr. Hina Nishad, Dr. Aditya from IIT Bihar. So the title of the talk of the session is same as the book that Professor Vikram sir has written, that is Ancient India, a historical dichotomy and what we inherit today. That book is about to publish by Bharati Prakashan publication. History, or at least the study of it, is in bad shape these days. Hegel once said that only lessons history teaches us is that nobody learn anything about history. At the same time, Hegel also says history does actually give us a clue as to our ultimate aims. We have circulated the preface of the book, so you can have a guess about the theme of the topic. So head of the Department of History, Mahatma Gandhi Kashi Vidyapith, Varanasi in 2014. He has a deep engagement with history, writing, teaching, learning, and doing. After 35 years of active service to the university as a teacher and in different capacities as an administrator, sometime as a counselor at times, he remained honorary director of the Institute of Tourism Studies in the university for 12 years. Uh, but he has always engaged himself with writing, research paper, articles, books. He has many famous books which many history students read for that matter, like an introductory note on concurrent and contemporary philosophy of history. There is a book published by National Bookstore, भारत की पुनर्खोज नई इतिहास दृष्टि और युग धर्म. Besides this, he has many important chapters. He has written on many important topics, particularly ancient history is a kind of authority for him. So without further ado, may I like to invite Professor Vikram to please enrich us with his wisdom and with his thought. So, sir, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Randhir. I'm very sorry that I could not connect on the video. I don't know what the problem is, but I will simply take excuse. I should greet everyone there. I should greet Dr. Christian Bartolf, Dr. Anand Kumar, Professor Anand Kumar, Dr. Veronica, as well as all the participants, if they are present there and who are on the video or audio to participate in this. As you have just mentioned, and Dr. Randhir has just mentioned, I would first like to be sure if I am audible properly or not.
Yes, you are audible.
So that's good. I'm really grateful to GSDS for giving me this opportunity to speak on the very topic, which is in fact I have conceived as the title of my book is about to be published in a fortnight or so, and that is one way is very encouraging to me, as well as I have been very much keen to get to the pupils, get to the scholars in the field, to just connect the things of the past and present, and just to have a discourse on the issue. At the outset, I should say what drove me to write this book. So I don't think it has to be explained to the audience or the people who are quite aware of the scenario of the country at present. And it's predominantly the communal overtones we are having, and so many of the violent and very, very narrow and selfish practices are just going on. There is supposed to be a sort of threat to the constitutional character of the country as well. So anyone who is concerned about all these things has to come out with its opinions and ideas, just to let the people be in touch, and that's how I was driven to write this book. Then, of course, it is often said that this is something which has there is an outcome, if not so. of some of the theories of the country, the leadership at the time, or it was also supported by the people, or the other way you may say whether the people were aversive to that. If that is so, that is something else. But at the same time, how come this all this sort of negative trend has come up after 25 years or rather 70 years of our independence? It is really baffling. So I have tried to find out whether it has any roots in our past as well. And the past, when we talk about past, we simply go back to the colonial age or to the medieval age. And then most of the time we assume many things about the ancients. Either way, some people would like to see their ancients is a very glorifying period and very harmonious period, as well as the other may be a little critical about that. So that all comes along. So I, not being the student of ancient Indian history particularly, I tried to find some links of the practices we are having. And for that matter, I should say that in the way I was just exercising upon the theory of whether history repeats itself or not. If there are some symptoms like that which we are still practicing, which we have had in our past, that's one thing. So I have come to find out that it is not just the intellectual dream of the people, the leadership of the country who was keen to bring out who was keen to build a new nation with a new constitution. Rather, we have a sufficient background for that from our ancient as well. Sufficient background from both spiritual, liberal, and tradition of Buddhism, Jainism, that is very often said about. And as well as our spirit of republicanism, and that two of the Pan-Indian Empire, Julius, having a peculiar social quality, carrying a statecraft, a socialist, of course, when we go through the treatises of Shastra, the Kaviraj Shastra. And finally, of course, we all know about Ashok, the policy of Patna and all that, which is not confined to just the peripheries of his empire, but for that matter. So that was something very peculiar. It is not just imperialism or an empire thing of the Western sense. Rather, it was a different position altogether. No country or nation in the past has ever experienced in that way, of course. So that all spirit we carried down to the present, and then in the present, of course, when we were challenged by the colonial rule and with some other bad happenings. So then again, there was a revival of the same spirit. There was a revival of the same spirit, which in the spiritual domain, if we can say, spiritual and social domain, it was Swami Vivekananda, who has been acknowledged as the great thinker of the modern age in India, and who just sought a balance between the spiritualism and the material world. So that was one thing. And then during our struggle for freedom, we come across a number of followers of Gandhi. Not to talk about Gandhi, he himself is an embodiment of all the past and present spirit. The followers of Gandhi I am feeling, and all the shades of martyrs even if we talk about Bhagat Singh and Netaji Subhash and Bose and all the people like them, they all were spirited from this very spirit of the past, So that is what I find, that it was nothing very new to the Indian nation, though even if we have not been a nation in that particular the meaning of the term, but of course that was there in our past as well. And as if you come to talk about the emancipation of the Dalits in the present time, that too was there, because all the religious movements which we have had experienced in our past were all targeting to the same, but unfortunately they always distracted from their path for one reason or the other. So that is all about the legal and spiritual, and of course enlightened polity of our country in the past, in particular in ancient India, which I am talking about. And then, of course, it all finally resulted into the Constitution of India. And not to say, have we not had that spirit, we would not have adopted the symbol of a monarchy that Ashok was having in our republic of the present. So it is only because that ethos we conceive about in the past is very much living in our present, and that was, of course, adopted in our present times. So it is enough to understand that this spirit was not simply the dream of some modern intellectuals of our country, modern visionaries of our country, but the spirit was there, and that was revived during the freedom struggle, of course, and many such questions which remained unaddressed or were distracted were to be addressed now. And that is how the pupils were there to support the constitutional ideas, of course, not knowing much about that, but even then they were understanding, and particularly the downtrodden masses of the country, they have aroused a hope for themselves, their emancipation. Baba Sahib Ambedkar was there, and a constitution has been brought out in their interest, and all the schemes, of course, the education of zamindari, and then the affirmative action program, and many social welfare schemes, of course, relate to the same spirit which we carried down to the present. So it was all that. But unfortunately, the other side of the picture is the same, is also to be understood in the same perspective. If there was a liberal and spiritual phenomena there in our ancient India, there was at the same time, and at sometimes even predominant, phenomena of the orthodoxy, the Brahminical orthodoxy, and all the traits related to it. Here I should also point out, which I have mentioned in my book as well, that it is not the dichotomy between the orthodoxy and liberalism. It is not just that most of the people may be referring to, that it is a dichotomy between the liberal ideas or the spiritualism of India and the orthodox practices. It's not simply that. But I had tried to go into some deep into it with the intention of finding out what were the internal dichotomies of this orthodox system, which became a dominant system in India for a long time, and it carries down to even today. So what was that? What was that internal dichotomy? So apart from the general dichotomy of liberalism and orthodoxy, I have also tried to explain that there was a lot of internal dichotomy inside the system of orthodoxy, and that all was the real thing, I should say, that was in fact the real mechanism through which this orthodox system prevailed upon all the other systems for a long time to come. So that has to be taken into account, and this internal dichotomy, of course, refers to the mechanism of assimilation, accommodation. Firstly, it is the challenges, how did they meet the challenges of their contenders or the foes, they may say, in the early times, and then what mechanism of assimilation and accommodation and other ways were adopted for contending spirits and culture, and how after all they were able to overpower all the productive masses. That is also the most important thing to understand in our history, how they were able to overpower the whole of the productive masses. It is through their different shades of political control, whether it is monarchical or feudal at the later stage. That is one thing. And then again, how could they infiltrate into all the domains of the social life and the economic life, which happened to be in any way a source of prosperity. So this is what we have to understand in this context, because it is not a simple thing that people accepted whatever was preached to them, that the people were carried away just by some attractive things or something like that. It's not that. There is a perfect mechanism which undergoes in all this development, and it's not simply that this was is in the religious literature or the scripture, but many other methods were adopted to just control and overpower the masses. So these were the parallel trends, and finally, not only parallel, but it finally overcame all the contending parties, all the contending spirit of liberalism and freedom, or you may say the humanity. All that was overshadowed and prevailed upon by this orthodox system. So, and one very fascinating thing is, again, I must refer here before I conclude my talk here, that there was a period, of course, very fascinating for us to understand, that when the free economic forces, or you may say the laissez-faire economy, was hand in hand with the orthodox or the conservative system. That was, again, a period of history in ancient India. Then they looked hand in hand, and that was there, and that what is being repeated today. As you find, the sectarian forces are hand in hand with the corporates of the modern world, the corporates of the country. So that is another fascinating feature you may just relate to. That is, we may understand in this context how it all works and how it all has come up. One has to go into it and look for its answers in our ancient as well as in our present. I think I have talked enough about the theme and the book, and I feel I will feel pleasure if people come out with their comments on the things and put some more inquiry about the thing. Thank you, Randhir and everybody.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your excellent deliberation. And you really put a very important perspective to understand the very dichotomy of history. And that is very idea, you also relate with the present time where, all the dominated or dominant forces, they have the same configuration for that matter, power hierarchy and all. So now it's time to invite some discussants for today's session. So first, I would like to invite Dr. Christian Bartolf to share his thought on the very presentation.
So, first of all, thank you for your invitation. It is an honor to be a guest at the first session, and democracy and socialism is close to me. I'm coming from the same birthplace as Willy Brandt, who was a democratic socialist, and there are different interpretations, of course, but one focuses on peace. So I think it's not only in the land of Gandhi, but also in Germany after the dark past of the fascist dictatorship, important to highlight the reference to peace. And we find, as I understand, in the Constitution of 2020, promotion of international peace and security is the basic endeavor of the state. It should be. This is Article 51. The state shall endeavor to promote international peace and security, maintain just and honorable relations between nations, foster respect for international law and treaty obligations in the dealings of organized peoples with one another, and encourage settlement of international disputes by arbitration. So now, how do we deal with one article in the Constitution which is not, let me say, realized or not sufficiently realized? There are different ways. One is certainly to refer to this article directly and publicly and challenge the state to fulfill its obligations. The other alternative would be to ignore the article and say it's just written in the Constitution, it has no value. So I think important is the reference as a citizen towards the Constitution articles to either you want them to be fulfilled in a certain way, or they are non-existing or not existing, or you are satisfied with what the government does, which is certainly not the case for many of us. So I think democracy and socialism should be filled with reality. And this is what we can learn from past history, not to transfer power to elites or to certain classes or castes or whatever, but to bring democracy into reality. This is one thing. The second, if you try to learn from Gandhi, you see that his attitude, as far as I understood in his references to Julian Huxley, UNESCO's representative, for example, or in other statements of Gandhi referring duties and rights, that fulfilling duties is the basis for realizing rights. By fulfilling duties, you are realizing human rights. This is his attitude. So there's a basic misunderstanding, I think. On the one hand, we can fulfill our moral duty and also political duty. This is according to the voice of conscience within, according to the freedom of conscience. But you can also understand it as a duty imposed by a certain convention, habit, norm of behavior, or even a prescription or rule or order linked with religion, caste, creed, etc. So I think there are two different ways to understand the term of duty, and this is a basic misunderstanding in many societies, that they confuse moral duty with, let me say, compulsory service or even conscription. So there is a very important, let me say, focus nowadays on this term, but we shall always imbibe the spirit of, we say, voluntary choice, freedom of choice. And this is the basic freedom. If there's no choice, there's no freedom. And so freedom and peace are elemental in international law, of course. Referring to international law, we find many references to non-violence, which have not been fulfilled. Now we are in a crisis that governments are not taking responsibility for what they're supposed to do, not only from the side of their constitution, but also in international relations. So we have to be active as citizens of the world. And this is exactly what Gandhi wanted us to do, to be a citizen of the world in a world federation without national armies. This is what he said. This is his program. Now, how to deal with the past? I think one of the major tasks for democratic socialists could be to, let me say, understand sovereignty from a new point of view. Sovereignty is linked with the right of self-determination, but actually sovereignty is also linked, and this is a fatal error of history, with the right to warfare. But we should, let me say, separate sovereignty with this right to warfare, which we find in the early theories, and bring about a new non-violent alternative approach to the term sovereignty. The sovereignty of the nation is something different, as we know, as the sovereignty of the citizen. So in the past, we should find references in India, Indian references, in Germany, German references, but also references from the world literature, from world philosophy, on a new concept of sovereignty. The last thing is, if you look at Gandhi's reference to the past, you find a remarkable article from his side on Oriental Oriental concept of truth. You remember 1905, his article. This is quite interesting because this Oriental ideal of truth is the name of this article. It's very interesting to see how Gandhi refers to the Indian philosophy, to the Indian past, by elaborating the fact that truth has always been a key concept in the Indian tradition. So truth is what matters. And truth is linked, as we know since Gandhi, inseparably with the ethics of nonviolence. So if you start anew from this point of view, I think it's easier then to deal with the heritage of the past, which might seem to be a burden frequently. So this is my comment.
Thank you so much, Christian, as always, very deep in articulating thing, and you really brought very important idea, duties and Gandhi. And this is where how we live in today's time, being an Indian, this is the two thing. And I don't know whether it is right to say or not, duty-based culture in the name of tradition and right-based culture in the name of modernity, how this dichotomy exists. Professor Vikram, would you like to share some thought?
I'm really sorry because clear to me, I was guessing only a few of the words. So that becomes a problem to me to just respond to that.
The question is how do you locate Gandhi in the very visualization of ancient India?
Right. That I wanted to answer also, because how do I put Gandhi in that? Of course, in a simple sentence, I should say that Gandhi is the embodiment of the spirit of past and present. And the picture I have just put on my cover page of the book is just the Gandhi is on the march, of course. So he is the best of the examples of the liberal ethos of our early India, as well as the present wisdom which we should have. So that is how the Gandhi relates to everything. It depicts everything. That's how Gandhi is related to that.
So I can share the screen to the respected participant, and they can see the photo, the picture that you are talking. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, why not?
Yes.
So,
May I invite our next discussion, Professor Gyan Gului? Yes. Professor Gyan Gului is a deep seeker from Italy.
I am here.
welcome.
Thank you very much. I do not know whether you can hear me because I have some problems with the connection.
Yes,
Can you hear me?
Professor Gyan, please put your question.
Yes. Well, I
are audible.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I thank you very much for the brilliant exposition. Well, the question is, two questions. That is, the first question is, can we, in your opinion, speak of at least a period in Gandhi's thought and in Gandhi's development in which Gandhi is, so to speak, contrasting not so much the Western civilization and the Eastern civilization in India, but rather the ancient India and ancient civilization on the whole, for which truth is God and truth is connected immediately to a transcendence on the one hand, and to the movement of the person to the transcendence on the one hand, and the modern contemporary civilization in which God is forgotten. That is, it is not so much a contraposition between East and West, but between old India and modern civilization in which God is, so to speak, forgotten or is relegated to a secondary position in Gandhi's thought. I would say, I would put this question as question. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
Should I respond to it, Randhir?
Yes, sure. You can respond.
What I could gather from Professor Gului, he's really wondering if Gandhi can be of any meaning to the modern world, or if I'm correct. So definitely, Gandhi has many facets, of course, and I should not say that he is all the answer, but he is an answer to many of the misgivings and the aspirations and what you cutthroat competitions all around the world. Unless until we are going to arrest that in one way or other, things are not going to be in the shape we in fact want to. So that is the problem. That is the basic thing. And to explain it further, we may say that it's what we have been developing or progressing, or what we call the development in the sense of the modern civilization. It is something very contradictory. Ultimately, the society or the civilization, whether it is in India or across the world, it all seeks some harmony and peace. Of course, with progress in material terms as well. But unless the balance is there between them, that either way, the society or the civilization is going to dooms. But we feel, and all the repercussions of all this development are already there. They are visible, and arising in so many forms, even in the forms of diseases as well. So one has to just connect the Gandhian philosophy, the Gandhian understanding of the thing and the word, and the very trap of the development of the modern technology or the globalization. It is not the globalization of human beings. It is the globalization of only the economic powers. Whosoever is having that much of capability is across the world, every second, every moment. But all the other are at the same time are pushed to the bottom. They are being pushed to the bottom everywhere, all over the world. So that is the thing which we have to just address to. And here we find Gandhi. And in that context, I will say my book refers to that, of course. That I have at the outset, I have already said that I'm not the one who is against organization or the material progress of the kind or anything like that. But at the same time, one has to look about the basics of the civilization, and that basics have to be addressed as well. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, sir. Any other respected participant want to ask any question? I can see Professor Saji. Saji bhai?
Hello.
Yes, Dr. Saji. Dr. Sipra. Or
Hello.
people are taking some time, so any friends?
He is there. If he's there, I can just convey my regards to him. He is there online or what?
He was there, but let me check.
Hello.
No, he's not there. Yes, any friend?
Hello. Hello.
So I think, yes. Please unmute yourself, sir. Okay. So, one person, Alok Trivedi, he write to the question to me that what is the inspiration of writing this book and choosing the topic? Yes.
What the inspiration?
Yes. His question is inspiration.
Inspiration.
Yes, inspiration of writing this book.
Inspiration, of course, it's very much there.
Okay.
We all are required. It has become imperative upon all of us to be clear about our ancient and the present behavior and all the dichotomy. Because most of the time we have much of the ambiguity about our past. As far as the and most of the people satisfied by knowing that there were some Islamic rulers here and there, and then sultans and badshahs, and some they take the most of the time in the negative frame. So, and that too is about the British colonial rule. Most of the people are just aware of some of the basic features of that. But as far as the ancient is concerned, there is very vague information on the concepts that people are having about us. So that's the thing. If we look into our past, how we are doing, how we are faring in the present, we may find many of the threads to connect the past and the present in that respect.
Thank you so much. Any other respected participant would like to ask any question? You are cordially invited.
How about Anand ji is not there?
He is not able to join because of technical issue. I think. Yes. So he is not there. So I think we are about to reach the time also. So thank you so much. Yes, we have 10 more minutes.
10 more minutes. It's 7 to 8 or 8:30. What is that?
8:30 or 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. It's okay.
Yes, 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock is okay, but if somebody wants to me to elaborate a little more about that, I can just go on.
Okay, so let me just ask. I can see one comment is there. It's ideological biasness of writing history. How can we save ourselves?
Ideological
biases.
Okay.
Usually what we can see in today's time with the advent of this subaltern writing, so they criticize almost all sort of writing. They saw that as a nostalgia of national movement or Congress historiography, Marxist historiography, So they have a kind of new sort of. So that is why the history writing has become more contested than ever. So how would you respond to such kind of argument?
Definitely. Actually, I have given a chapter for that, the conflict of traditions and ideology and the writing of history and the ideological conflict related to that. That chapter, of course, addresses all these problems. The subaltern mindsets and the questioning about the modern narratives and everything. So that is there in the book in the beginning itself, and that is why I have just tried to. It's not just that with any interest in our own history or so. It's a thing which has to be taken in perspective. What we are doing at present, what the scenario is all around us. So that's why I was driven to write this book. And it's many of the things I have been, the ideas I have been writing from a long time. But it is the high time when I should come out with all this in a coherent manner. So that is there in my book.
Yes, you are rightly mentioned. I can see one name in the very preface, Collingwood. Then I can recall E.H. Kerr and Hegel. And I can recall one thought of Hegel, who says that the great man of the age is the one who put into words the will of his age, and till he is
yes. In fact, Randhir and for all the viewers, I should say that I had already published a book earlier. That is India Rediscovered. You mentioned the Hindi name, the Hindi version of that book. There is India Rediscovered and a new vision of history and call of the age. That was published in 2006 by Northern Book Center. There I have discussed all these thoughts of Hegel, Spencer, and Marx. Everyone I have taken into account. Just to and finally also of Professor G.C. Pandey and Ram Manohar Lohia as well. His discussions about the interplay of the spirit and the matter in the progress of civilization and culture. So all that has been discussed in that book, of course. In this book, I did not find the space for that. Rather, I was more confined to the explanations of the processes and the methods and the mechanics of the orthodox system, how it was coming up, and how it was able to prevail upon all other systems. and what we actually inherit in our present. So that is has been my purpose in this book. So
yes,
my friend,
you have. Thank you. We have two questions. One is by Sujata Gambingo. She is asking, where only orthodoxy people dominating in balancing society in ancient India? So
balancing. It's rather a term which cannot be applied to the orthodox system, because if you refer to balancing, that it also requires integration at the level, at the what you call the level field of the people. So that was not there. There was a lot of disparity. So how should we call it in balancing? It's a one-way traffic. It was also a one-way traffic, and all the productive masses were just put to the lowest rung of the society, and they were not able even to move out and to have any mobility of their progress and having such thing particularly in the feudal age, of course, later. So all the landlordism and the feudal lordism was there. So how can we call it a balancing? And the spirit of bhakti movement and all that was also in a way manipulated or rather overpowered by the pristine class. So that was all there. How could we just refer it to the balancing of the society?
Yes, thank you so much. And I think it was very good session, sir. And it is very insightful and engaging session. And again, we would like to invite you to specifically talk about some period of history, for that matter, like Gupta period.
Welcome. I would be happy to join that whenever it is time. So I must thank on my part for getting to talk about so many things about my book and my ideas about history and the present. And I thank everyone who has participated and put questions to me. I thank Professor Bartolf and
Professor Guian.
And Gyan, yes, of course. So thank you very much, doctors and professors, and I would like to share many more ideas with you when I find time to. But at the same time, I'm really sorry that I was not able to present on the video. I'm always very much skeptical about all these things that make me very much perturbed for handling the devices for that matter. So thank you very much, Randhir.
Thank you so much, sir. And it is very important to understand history, because today's time propaganda has become the truth, and in India also fascism works on the very logic of bad history. And
there's no shying about the thing. There's no shying about the thing. That is there. Thank you.
So thank you so much. And on behalf of Gandhian School of Democracy and Socialism and ITM University, this is our first dialogue series. So we would invite you in our next dialogue series. And again, we will next time we will have in mind that at least Professor Anand, Kumar, and should be there, and whatsoever we have to do, because for his generation, it is very difficult to come on Zoom and have kind of technical engagement.